last part of this worksheet, part 4, equations of lines review. So if we take a look, it says write the equation of each line in slope-intercept form below each given graph. So I didn't read that very well. But what we want to do is we want to identify what the equation of the graph is. And when we do that, we're going to start with identifying the y-intercept, which is b. And we also want to identify the slope. And then we can put this in the form of y equals. So the first thing that we look at is, where does this graph cross the y-axis? And it crosses here at -4. 1, 2, 3, 4 downward. There's the -4. Our slope here, and that's going to be a little bit harder for me to do, but let me see if I can thin up this here a little bit. We need to pick another point on the line here, and we want to pick an exact point. So I'm going to pick this point right here, if I can get that in there. A little bit difficult for me, but pick one that's right on the line, so to speak, not in a partial part. And then remember that slope is rise, come on, over run. Again, a little bit more difficult for me to show you here, but what we did is we went up 2 spaces. There's the rise part, and then we went 1, 2, 3 right. So there's our slope, and then it's going to be y equals 2/3 x minus 4. So maybe as we go to the next page here, if I make this a little bit bigger, oh dear, make this a little bit bigger, that'll help. Don't know, we're going to find out. So when we look at this particular problem here, same idea. We want to identify, well, what is the y-intercept? And it's right here, a little bit easier because I made it bigger, which is 2. And then our slope, once again, rise over run. We need to find another point on this graph that's going to be right on a point. I'm going to try that one right there. And then when we look at this here, I'm going to just make this a little bit thicker. So when we draw our triangle, what happens is that we went down 1 space. So down 1 is going to be -1, and then we went 1, 2, 3 spaces to the right. So there's our slope, and then we can fill it in. Y equals -1/3 x plus 2. As we flip over here to the next one, again, I'm going to make this bigger if I can. Now, this is one of those special lines. It's a horizontal line. And as we take a look at this horizontal line, I just want to point out on this picture here that there's a little X right here. That's the x-axis. This is the x-axis. And then here's the y, and there's the y-axis. And again, this is a horizontal line, if you're not familiar with that. And the way I like to describe it is, well, what axis did we cross? Well, our horizontal line crossed the y-axis. And where did it cross it? 1, 2, 3. And by the way, it's going to come up in the next part of these notes. But do you know what the slope of this is? Because possibly last year what Miss Aldrich did is she said, well, horizontal lines have, in this case, on this particular problem, the y-intercept is 3. but horizontal lines all have slopes of 0. So what Miss Aldrich might have done, she might have said, oh, you write it like this. Y equals 0x plus 3. And the nice part is that if we have to take our OST in April, they will take either answer there. Now, as an aside here, when you look at this next one, again, I'm going to make it bigger. This one is a vertical line. Switch colors here. Let's try pink. It's a vertical line. And on this one, we don't have a y-intercept. And it's hard to tell what the slope is, but the slope in this particular problem, and actually let me write down what the equation is here first, because just like the last problem, ask yourself, what axis do we cross? And in this particular problem, we are crossing the x-axis. So this is going to be an x equals, and where does it cross? 1, 2, it crosses at -2. But again, it's going to come up momentarily, so let's review it right now. The slope of a vertical line is undefined. So that one, again, these are special lines. The horizontal line, the vertical line are special lines. But as we keep going here, and we look at this next particular problem, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here, try not to distort the graph too much. That helps. It says graph the line passing through the given points with the given slopes, then write the equation. So if we look at this particular problem, here, 3, 1. So we're going to go from 0, we're going to go 3, 1. There's our point. Then our slope is 2, which could be written as 2 over 1. So we're going to go rise 2, run 1. Rise 2, run 1. Rise 2, run 1. By the way, we could also go down 2 to the left 1. So I went down 2 to the left 1. Down 2 to the left 1. Lots of dots there, and I'm really sorry, I'm not going to use my line drawer. But the picture looks like that. So when we write our equation of our line here, we already know what the slope is. It's going to be y equals 2x. But what we need to take a closer look at over here is, well, where does this line cross the y-axis? It crosses right here at 4. And it's -4, I should say. And there's our line. If we look at the next problem, make this bigger. So our point this time is -2, 5. So we'll start there by graphing that. -2, 5 is here. Our slope is -1/2, so it's already in a fraction form. So we're going to go down 1 to the right 2. Down 1 to the right 2. Down 1 to the right 2. Remember that slope is a pattern on the line. We can also go up 1 to the left 2. Up 1 to the left 2. So here, oh, hopefully you can draw better than I. My picture is terrible. But even though I missed my points there, we can still get the equation. It's y equals, and we already know the slope is -1/2 x. And where this line crosses the y-axis should have been right here, I dismissed it when I drew it, which is plus 4. Same idea here, but here comes the review that we were just talking about a couple minutes ago. We are given this point 4, -2. So we're going to start there, but the slope equals 0. And remember, when the slope equals 0, that means that this line is going to be horizontal. So when we draw a horizontal line, at least I redeemed myself on this one, it almost looks horizontal. We ask ourselves, well, what axis does it cross? Well, this is the x-axis, and this is the y. It crosses the y-axis at -2. And finally, our last example here. Again, I need to make this bigger. But as we do that, notice that this time it says that our slope of our line is undefined. So when we think about what we were working with just a couple minutes ago, what we said for a slope of a line undefined is that we're working with a vertical line. So we're going to come over here and we're going to graph the point 3, -2. A vertical line better than expected, looks like that. And as we look at this, once again, a reminder, this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. What axis do we cross? We cross the x-axis. And where do we cross it? At 3.